what I found. Wonderful and beautiful and glorious and holy, He is merciful and powerful. Who we're talking about, that's my King. We declare the glory, give Him all the honor, altogether worthy. Who we're talking about, that's my King. There's no one before you. Yes, we will adore you. All of this is for you. Who we're talking about, that's my King. I'm not letting the rocks cry without joining the chorus. There aren't enough notes to make the harmony. It's the song of the angels, through all of the ages, with all of the earth and heaven symphony. Wonderful and beautiful and glorious and holy, He is merciful and powerful. Who we talking about? That's my King. We declare the glory, give Him all the honor, altogether worthy. Who we talking about? That's my King. There's no one before you. Yes, we will adore you. All of this is for you. Who we talking about? That's my King. That's my King. That's my God. That's my shepherd, my protector. That's my King. That's my rock. That's my anchor. My defender. That's my King. That's my God. That's my shepherd, my protector. That's my King. That's my rock. And that's my anchor, my defender. Who we talking about? That's my King. We declare the glory, give Him all the honor, altogether worthy. Who we talking about? That's my King. We declare the glory, give Him all the honor, altogether worthy. Who we talking about? That's my King. There's no one before you. Yes, we will adore you. All of this is for you. Who we talking about? That's my King. 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 That's my King. Christmas from the bottom of my heart. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Prospero año y felicidad. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Prospero año y felicidad. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. Wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. Wanna wish you a Merry Christmas from the bottom of my heart. Feliz Navidad. Oh, Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Prospero año y felicidad. Felicidad.
Hello, Riverside. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I am here on the Causeway, something we almost lost after Ian, watching the sun set on 2025. I spent some time Sunday evening reviewing this past year. Do you ever do that? Just look back and consider the year and what happened and maybe even what you learned? I took my phone's camera roll. It's a great way to do it. And I just scrolled back through 2025, back through the loss of my mom, baptizing a friend, a trip to South Africa, a little vacation Wendy and I took in Sanibel, a flight to Colombia to encourage my friend there, a drive I took my mom on for a milkshake out in the countryside back in July, summer date with Wendy at Kitchen Social. And then in May, I broke my wrist again. April, we lost Wendy's mom. And backing further up, there was the journey to the cross. I baptized some cousins. We launched a building campaign, and we got hurricane windows on part of our house. January, I bought a new mountain bike to replace mine from 1996. That's the bike I was riding when I broke my wrist in May. Do you ever feel, as you review your life, like God's been letting you get away with things, like he protects you sometimes from yourself? Like you've been trying to be wise, but as you look back, you notice patterns and risks and maybe unwise decisions. January 10, 2025, our Ring camera filmed a family of 4 raccoons late at night walking from our driveway to the backyard. I didn't even know we had raccoons, let alone 4. Raccoons can be smart or not. Black Friday this year, the early morning the next day, so I guess Saturday, the 29th, a liquor store in Virginia had a break-in. Authorities arrived to find several shelves ransacked, bottles of gin and whiskey and cocktail mix spilled out onto the floor, hundreds of dollars of damage, but no apparent theft. And as they investigated, they went into the bathroom and found the culprit, passed out drunk, lying in the floor next to the commode. It was a raccoon. After he made some poor life choices, he was crawling on the ceiling tiles, fell through, which took out the camera system, so they don't have video, but it smashed all kinds of booze, which the raccoon then drank. Animal control got him sober, later released him into the wild. Sometimes I relate to that raccoon, not from breaking into a liquor store or passing out at the toilet, but just from making poor decisions and then everything working out okay, getting mercy where maybe I shouldn't have gotten mercy, not putting enough value on things that really matter most, like holiness. In my favorite book of the Bible, 1 Peter, it's because it was written by a guy who made mistakes and a guy Jesus stuck with, and he grew him until Peter wrote that book as an older man, a man who knew grace in Jesus. 1 Peter, in the first chapter, starting at verse 13, after Peter describes the great mercy of God that has caused us to be born again to a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead and all that comes with that, Peter writes, therefore, preparing your minds for action and being sober-minded, set your hope fully on the grace that will be brought to you at the revelation of Jesus Christ. As obedient children, do not be conformed to the passions of your former ignorance, but as he who called you is holy, you also be holy in all your conduct, since it is written, you shall be holy, for I am holy. Prepare your mind for action. Gird the loins of your mind and be sober-minded. It literally just says sober. Are you sober? Have you been getting away without being sober, or at least sober in your thinking? You, Christian, you have a role to play in this world. If you follow Jesus, you're not just a bystander in this place. And you need to be sober, not stoned or impaired or slow in your thinking, rather prepared for action. Your mind prepared for action, not passed out on the floor of something you stumbled into like a raccoon who can't tell the difference between a package store and a produce stand. Preparing your mind for action, being sober-minded. Set your hope fully on grace, specifically the grace that will be brought to you at the revelation of Jesus. If you want to have hope and be secure in it, prepare your mind for action and be sober. You're going to need to deal with the things in your life that hinder your thinking, because those things will hinder your ability to be fully confident and grounded in grace. And you need grace. We need grace. I'm here on the Sanibel Causeway. For those of you who were here in 2022, you remember how it felt when this was all destroyed, and how that one lighthouse, it took some damage, but it stayed standing. And you remember how much hope that gave us. Well, as Christians, we don't set our hope just on lighthouses and man-made recovery, no matter how inspiring it is. Your hope is set fully on the grace that will be brought to you at the revelation of Jesus Christ. Set your hope on grace as obedient children. That's how he says it. Earlier in his book, he told us we were foreknown by the Father in the sanctification of the Spirit for obedience to Jesus. Do you think of yourself like that? Was 2025 like that? You, an obedient child, foreknown by the Father, made holy in the Spirit? Would God the Father look back at your year and say, yeah, you were listening, or you were growing, or would he say, you were distracted? Were you pursuing what he calls you to pursue, or were you getting pulled back into former ignorance? The Bible gives us a contrast there. He tells us something to be versus something not to be. Be obedient children. Do not be conformed to the passions of your former ignorance. We can set our hope fully on grace. We get grace, but we don't get to stay ignorant. On this day, December 28th, 2024, 1 year ago today, I went spearfishing for the first time, for the only time. But the first time I fired my spear gun, I got a fish. I got a grunt this big. I had made tremendous improvements since I started diving 4 years ago. And I've shared some stories from my early adventures with scuba diving, stories that made some of you hesitant to get certified, but I may not have been fully transparent on some of the mishaps. I took some risks that were not only unnecessary, but were also done in ignorance. I was ignorant. I thought I knew what I was doing, but I didn't. That time I surfaced with no air, or when I got Jonathan caught in the current and kind of lost him and the boat had to go get him later. That time I descended uncontrolled and I hurt my inner ear. I had a barotrauma and I got some really bad vertigo. That was kind of my fault. And it wouldn't have happened if I had followed all the procedures and not gone out on our own while we were still new and ignorant. By the grace of God, everything eventually worked out and we got more wise. Set your hope on grace, but pay attention to what God tries to teach you and be an obedient child, because you get grace, but there's a sunset for ignorance. Ignorance is not an excuse. Sometimes in God's mercy, you get away with it. Sometimes there will be consequences. Several weeks ago, around December 11th, a British man was on vacation in the Philippines. Some of you have been there. Some of you are from there. Do you know what this is? It's an octopus. He didn't. And he filmed himself holding a little octopus like this. It's the size of his hand. And he was remarking on the beautiful blue rings. This is a blue ringed octopus. So pretty. It's also one of the most deadly creatures in the ocean, and it only shows off its striking blue rings when it feels alarmed or threatened. It produces the same neurotoxin found in pufferfish, that one that some Asian countries prize as a thoroughly deadly delicacy. And it's about 1,200, sorry. You know, we got to be real here, 1,200 times more toxic than cyanide. There's no antivenom. That man came really, really close to a really, really horrible consequence for simply being ignorant. God gives us grace upon grace, but he will not always spare you from consequences. Rather than conform to the passions of your former ignorance, as he who has called us is holy, you also be holy in all your conduct. Since it is written, you shall be holy, for I am holy. You, Christian, we have been called out of ignorance to set our hope fully on the grace of Jesus and called to follow him in holiness, not like foolish raccoons and oblivious tourists. Holiness. It's a really good word for 2026. To be holy is to be set apart for some particular use. I have a set of holy flashlights at my house that are for one thing only: scuba diving. They are dedicated. They are purpose made for that one task. They are highly water and pressure resistant, and I keep them protected for that marine environment. They don't roll around in my truck. They don't sit out in the rain and sun, and they don't get played with by my kids. They are set apart for their purpose. They even have a padded case, and I carefully charge them before each use. That's the idea behind holiness. To be set apart is to be holy. God is holy. He is set apart. He's not common or ordinary or plain. He is God. And he has chosen you to be his through the work of Jesus. That makes you holy, set apart for Jesus. As the sun sets on 2025, and you're thinking about 2026, what does that look like? What's it mean to be holy in your conduct for the year ahead? It may mean you stop using ignorance as an excuse, that you learn what he's called you to, what you're for. And you don't just drift through this year like a drunken raccoon. It may you need to stop playing with sin like a clueless tourist with a cute octopus. It may mean you prepare your mind for action, gird the loins of your mind, and spend some time with God, getting honest about his purposes this year and not conforming to your former ignorance. Maybe you get sober, or counseling for that trauma that you ignore. Maybe you do discover and figure out your identity, or you do base camp and learn to share what we have in Jesus and how to make disciples. Maybe you get serious about your marriage or getting married or getting pure. Or maybe you read his book this year. Find some answers. Ask your questions out loud in a small group or to one of us and figure out who God is. I don't know what 2026 looks like for you. I don't know what holiness looks like for you this year, but I do know some of what it looks like for me. If you'll ask me sometime, I'll tell you. God bless you, church. I'll see you Sunday.
There's a peace inside of me. The storm it brews in the horizon. My heart cries out to you, my refuge. You tame the storm inside of me. You make a way. My soul is anchored through the waves. You guide my way. Whoa. When there's a struggle